It was late evening when the train finally slowed down, sighing and groaning as it pulled into the nearly empty station. I was tired, the kind of tired that turns your bones heavy, but I still noticed the black suitcase sitting by the edge of the bench. At first, I thought someone had forgotten it, a careless traveler who would come running back any moment. But nobody did. The suitcase looked ordinary, scuffed corners, a broken zipper pull, stickers from places I had never been. For a long moment, I just stared at it, waiting for someone to claim it. 10 minutes passed, then 15. The platform emptied until it was just me, the dim yellow lights, and the suitcase. I told myself not to touch it. That's how every bad story begins, right? But curiosity is a stubborn thing. I reached down, pulled the handle, and felt the weight. Heavier than clothes, heavier than books. My pulse quickened. Against my better judgment, I dragged it behind a pillar and flipped the latches open. Stacks. Neat, clean stacks of money. Bundles wrapped in paper, secured with rubber bands. I had never seen so much cash outside of a movie. My brain refused to calculate the total, but it had to be millions. The air smelled of paper and dust, almost metallic. I remember laughing nervously, half convinced it was a prank, half terrified it was real. A suitcase like that doesn't get lost. Someone put it there for a reason. Maybe it was part of a drop. Maybe the intended recipient was late, which meant if I had it, someone else might be coming for it. I closed it quickly, my hands trembling. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, pretend I had never seen it. But another voice whispered, "This could change everything. Rent, debts, the endless grind of dead-end jobs. It could all disappear." I dragged the suitcase home, each step echoing like a crime. Every time I passed someone on the street, I was sure they knew. At home, I locked the door, pulled the blinds, and dumped the contents onto the floor. The money poured out like water, flooding my small apartment with impossible possibility. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind played every scenario at once. If I kept it, I could start over. If I tried to deposit it, the bank would raise questions. If I spent it too quickly, people would notice. It wasn't just money, it was a curse disguised as salvation. By morning, I decided to test it. I took a single bundle, small enough to fit into my jacket pocket, and went to a grocery store across town. Paying in cash had never felt so dangerous. The cashier didn't blink, didn't question. The bill slid across the counter like any other. That should have calmed me, but instead it made everything worse, because it meant the money was real. The following days were a blur. I paid off my landlord in advance. I bought a used car, cheap enough not to draw suspicion, but better than the wreck I had before. Each purchase brought a rush of relief, followed by a wave of guilt and paranoia. I started noticing shadows where there were none, footsteps that might not have been there. One night, as I carried the suitcase from the closet to count it again, I noticed something I hadn't before, a small slip of paper wedged between the stacks. On it was a phone number, nothing else. My chest tightened. Whoever had owned this money hadn't just abandoned it. They wanted it delivered. I thought of calling, of pretending I had found it by accident. But what then? Whoever answered that number wouldn't thank me. They would want to know why the suitcase had been delayed, and they would probably prefer to erase any loose ends, like me. The suitcase became an anchor, dragging me deeper each day. The more I tried to act normal, the more I realized how much my life had changed in the span of a single night. Friends noticed I avoided questions. My landlord asked where the money came from. My hands shook every time a police car passed by. In the end, the choice was simple, though it didn't feel like it. I drove 3 towns over, pulled into a deserted lot, and left the suitcase in the trunk of an abandoned car. I didn't take it all. I kept just enough to cover my debts, to buy myself a chance at breathing again. Then I walked away, not looking back. For weeks afterward, I expected someone to knock on my door, to demand what I had done. But no one came. Life returned to something close to normal, except for the restless dreams. Sometimes I still think about that suitcase, about the fortune that slipped through my fingers, about the life I might have lived if I had been braver or more foolish. And then I remember the weight of it in my hands, the cold sweat on my neck, the certainty that someone was always just behind me. And I know I made the only choice that kept me alive.